Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're tuning in, because we're about to dissect one of the most frustrating, unseen forces that just keeps us stuck in life. And way more importantly, we're going to talk about how you can finally break free from it. I mean, if you've ever felt like you're just spinning your wheels, you're reading all the right books, you're setting the right goals, but somehow you end up in the exact same place year after year, well, you are definitely in the right place today. We're digging deep into some incredible source material from Bob Proctor to really understand the hidden power of repetition and how it can completely rewire your mind. So let's just dive right into it.
I want you to let this question really sink in for a second. How is it possible to have so much knowledge, so much formal education, and still be broke, or stuck, or just really unhappy? It's a painful disconnect, isn't it? We see people graduate from top universities, they gather all this brilliant information, they have letters trailing off the ends of their business cards, and yet they can't find work, or they can't seem to get out of debt. They've clearly got the intellect, but the tangible, real-world results just aren't there. So, if a lack of knowledge isn't the problem, what is?
To really wrap our heads around the scale of the potential we're wasting, take a look at this number: 11 million. The source material points out this staggering scientific fact. There are about 11 million kilowatt hours of potential energy locked up in the electrons of just one single pound of the atoms in our bodies. That's insane. It brilliantly illustrates this massive point. We are literally walking dynamos. We are packed with potential energy and mental capabilities that would absolutely blow your mind. But we're wasting all that immense potential simply because we just don't know how to direct it. We don't understand the internal software that's actually running the machine.
And that internal software? That's what we call a paradigm. A paradigm is, very simply, a mental program that has almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior. Think of it like thick layers of hardened paint on a canvas, just built up over years and years. It's dense, it's deeply ingrained, and it dictates almost everything you do. Because here is the real kicker. Almost all of our behavior is habitual. So it's not really you controlling your life day to day, it's your paradigms calling the shots. Notice the stark contrast here. On one side, you've got your intellect, your degrees, your conscious goals, but over on the other side, you have your habitual behavior, which is entirely driven by your paradigm. You can gather all the smarts in the world, but honestly, it simply doesn't matter if your underlying habitual behavior remains locked in its old ways. This is exactly why smart people get stuck. The intellect says, hey, I want to earn more money, but the paradigm is deeply programmed for scarcity. And let me tell you, in a fight between your conscious intellect and your subconscious paradigm, the paradigm wins every single time.
Which brings us to this seriously brutal truth from Bob Proctor. He says, when paradigms stay in control, nothing changes. It's totally black and white. There's no gray area here. It doesn't matter how hard you grind or how many hours you put in at the office. If you don't change this deep mental software, your results this year are just going to be a mirror image of your results from last year. You can try as hard as you want to force a change, but if that old paradigm is still driving the bus, well, as the source bluntly puts it, you're toast.
Okay, so how do we actually get out of this trap? Psychology tells us there are really only two known ways to break through those thick mental barriers and actually change a paradigm. The first one is an emotional impact. Think of a massive, life-altering event like 9/11 or a sudden personal tragedy. That forces a sudden paradigm shift, sure, but it's rare, it's totally unpredictable, and it's usually something we definitely do not want to manufacture in our lives, right? So that leaves us with a second catalyst. Constant spaced repetition. Now, this is controllable. This is reliable. This involves the daily, deliberate study of concepts that are the exact opposite of your current limiting paradigm.
And if you need proof that this controllable route actually works, just look at Bob Proctor's personal timeline. Back in 1961, he was unhappy, sick, broke, and didn't have any formal education. Then, he started listening to a recording by Earl Nightingale every single day. He said he just couldn't stop listening to it. Fast forward 10 years, he's living in England, earning over $1 million a year and running businesses in 3 different countries. He literally read the same book and studied the exact same concepts every single day for over 57 years. It's truly mind-blowing. He went from completely broke to building a global empire purely through the relentless repetition of the same ideas over half a century.
All right, so we know the what. Repetition is the absolute key to changing the paradigm. But to really master this, we need to understand the how. Why does listening to the exact same audio or reading the same chapter over and over again actually work? It all comes down to this fascinating, almost secretive cognitive process that we're going to call the mechanics of the thought trip. Let's break this down step by step.
Imagine a solid white line going straight across. That represents the continuous sound of a speaker's voice, or maybe the words on a page you're reading. Now imagine a red line tracking right on top of it. That red line is you. It's your active listening and your attention. But suddenly, step 3 happens, the spark. The speaker says something profound, an idea just hits you, and boom! Step 4, you go on a thought trip. Your mind wanders off into the clouds to explore exactly how that amazing new idea applies to your life or your business or your future. You get completely emotionally involved in that one idea. But here's the massive catch. While your mind is way up in the clouds on that incredible thought trip, that white line, the speaker's voice, the new information, it just keeps right on going. Because of this, you can hear without actually listening. Your ears are physically receiving the sound waves, your eyes might even be scanning the next paragraph, but your conscious mind is completely absent. Maybe you're planning what you're having for dinner, right? You are entirely missing the actual content being delivered because you're off daydreaming about that first spark.
So ask yourself this. What happens when you rewind that audio or reread that chapter the very next day? What are the odds of your mind wandering off on a thought trip at the exact same mental point? The answer is 0. Literally 0. It's not going to happen. You've already processed that first idea. So this time around, your attention stays on the white line a little bit longer, and you hit a brand new spark in a totally different place. This is exactly why you can listen to a recording 20 times, and on the 21st time you suddenly go, whoa, I never heard that before. Well, it was always there. You just weren't listening.
And this is why repetition is the mandatory tool for change. Through constant, spaced repetition, you catch the critical ideas you completely missed the first time around. With every single pass, you emotionally involve yourself in entirely new concepts. Remember our paint metaphor from earlier? Repetition is the aggressive, deliberate stroke of fresh, vibrant mental paint being applied right over that old, dark paradigm. You do it enough times, and eventually, you permanently rewire your habitual behavior. You literally reprogram your own mind.
So once you begin repainting your mind, how do you apply this to your actual life? The source material shares this brilliant realization from Buckminster Fuller. He's the guy who invented the geodesic dome. He said, "You never change things by fighting existing reality. To change things, you build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete." It's so powerful. Stop fighting your current state. Stop stressing over the debt or the job you hate. That reality just is. Instead, use repetition to continuously build a new mental model.
What does a new model look like in practice? Well, let's look at wealth creation. The old paradigm, which, let's face it, most of us were raised with, is relying on a single source of income. You go to school to get one good job, right? But as you repetitively study success, you realize wealthy people operate on a completely different model. They build multiple sources of income, or MSIs. They set up systems that earn money from all over the world, even while they're fast asleep. That is the new model. By repeatedly studying concepts like MSIs, you make that old single paycheck paradigm completely obsolete in your own mind.
Okay, let's tie all of this together. If you take away anything from this explainer today, let it be these core truths. First, you are not stuck to a lack of intellect, or goals, or potential. You've got plenty of that. Second, unseen paradigms are pulling the strings of your habitual reality. Third, constant spaced repetition isn't just a neat study tactic. It is the only reliable brush you have to repaint your mind. And finally, stop fighting your current reality. Instead, repeatedly expose yourself to new ideas until you build a new model that makes the old one totally obsolete.
I'm going to leave you with a question to chew on as we wrap up this explainer. I want you to really ask yourself, what old paradigm is controlling your reality today? And, more importantly, what new concept, what new audio, or what new book are you going to repeatedly listen to starting tomorrow morning to make that old paradigm entirely obsolete? You have the power to decree your own destiny, but it all starts with the decision to do the work over and over again. Get to it.